Close insider Zak Keefer discusses the Colts' fight-filled practice with the Ravens. Clark Wade, IndyStarWESTFIELD. The Baltimore Ravens brought some of their bruising AFC North physicality to Grand Park on Saturday. The Indianapolis Colts brought the rebuttal. In one of the chippiest practices the Colts have had in years, the team closed its 2018 training camp with brawls and blows, scrapping with the visiting Ravens throughout a 2-hour session that left the Colts bruised and coach Frank Reich steaming. "We're football players, professional football players, we're not fighters," Reich said. "This is not the MMA. We're not in the cage. We got kids in the stands. We're role models. We want to find ways to execute football plays and win games." He continued, "It's Bush League. It's undisciplined. Teams that do that, and players who do that, lose. That's not the team we want to be." What seemed to start it all came after Colts receiver KJ Brent snared a deep pass down the right sideline midway through practice, then was hit hard, and cleanly, by Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey. Brent clutched his knee in obvious pain, and didn't get up for several minutes. He left practice on a cart. Everything from there seemed amped up. Slowly, tempers began to flare. Indianapolis Colts offensive guard Quentin Nelson, 56, works on blocking Baltimore Ravens defensive end Chris Wormley, 93, during the Colts and Ravens joint practice at Grand Park in Westfield on Saturday, August 18. Photo, Matt Krieger, IndyStar. While it remains entirely uncertain who was at fault for every skirmish, really, there were too many to count. Both teams can shoulder some blame. The biggest melee arrived midway through special teams work, after Brent had been hit when Colts Antonio Morrison planted Ravens LB Albert McClellan to the ground. McClellan then threw Morrison down and unloaded a fury of punches on him. In seconds, about 20 players were involved. Morrison was getting pummeled, helmets were being thrown, and Colts defensive end Chris McCain was hurling punches at Ravens safety Tony Jefferson. It took dozens of players and staffers from both sides to break up the skirmish. And it didn't stop there. Later in the workout, Colts rookie receiver Reese Fountain got into a shoving match with Ravens corner Stanley Jean-Baptiste near the line of scrimmage. Within seconds, Jean-Baptiste was throwing punches. Indianapolis Colts wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, 13, makes a catch behind Baltimore Ravens defensive back Brandon Carr, 24, during the Colts and Ravens joint practice at Grand Park in Westfield on Saturday, August 18. Photo, Matt Krieger, IndyStar. Ravens coach John Harbaugh, for his part, seemed indifferent to the boxing matches. Asked about the fights after practice, he downplayed the issue completely. "It cracks me up," said Harbaugh, whose team hadn't gotten into any major skirmishes during a lengthy training camp until Saturday. "Is this a healthy obsession that we all have with fights in training camp practices? It's really nothing, much ado about nothing. It got broken up pretty quickly, and we are moving on." The real problem, Harbaugh failed to mention, it got in the way of the work. For the most part, practice was sloppy, the execution off. That's what angered Reich. The Ravens got an extra week of training camp, an extra preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, and a second joint practice with the Rams. For Reich's Colts, these 2 days were vital for roster evaluations, and to further measure the progress of their offensive and defensive installations. The rain slowed the pace Friday. Brawls did the same Saturday. "We just gotta make sure we're not wasting time," was how Colts QB Andrew Luck put it. This is football. Asked if he'd ever been a part of a chippier practice before, Luck, now a 7-year vet, didn't bat an eye. "No." Closed the Indianapolis Colts wrap up training camp with fights, sloppy practice with Ravens. Clark Wade, IndyStar. On the flip side, to some degree, the Colts proved something Saturday. Excusing the cheap shots, there were plenty. The Ravens brought the physicality, and the Colts answered. They weren't going to be bullied. For a team that was routinely pushed around last season, and perhaps the last several seasons, maybe this was a day they made a statement. Word from several players, and staff members, for that matter, after 3 weeks in Westfield, this is one of the most physical training camps this team has had in years. Still, Reich wasn't pleased. The fighting took it too far. The way you be a tough team, Reich said, is when your teammate is in harm's way, you protect your teammate. You get him out of the melee. When your guy is in there, you go pull him out. A few players had no problems with the physicality. We had some fights before, said linebacker Najee Good, like luck, a 7-year league veteran, but I actually got right in the middle of this one. You just gotta trust your teammates to cover up for you. It brings a little juice and animosity. There was a lot of tension built up. That tension will undoubtedly carry over to the field Monday night, where the two teams will square off for a preseason game at Lucas Oil Stadium. This is how Good put it: on Monday night, we're definitely going to be talking with our pads. Hilton dinged up unrelated to the brawls. Colts Pro Bowl receiver T.Y. Hilton suffered a minor shoulder injury Saturday and spent most of practice with his shoulder wrapped in ice. The Reich said he doesn't think it's a real issue. There's now a chance Hilton sits for Monday's preseason game. Brent's knee will also be evaluated in the coming days. Call star reporter Zak Keefer at 317-444-6134 and follow him on Twitter @Keefer.